contains sensitive subjects. Parental screening advised. Today's society is far more evolved than that of just a century ago. Instant communications, faster travel, more powerful weapons, improved medicine. With this knowledge, though, comes other things that should never have been discovered nor accepted. Cloning, homosexuality, and narcotics have been around for quite some time, but have never been as widely accepted as they are today. Many people believe that these, and many more things, like the dissolving of family, are necessary to make everyone happier. This is called enlightenment, and it occurs every century. Heck, the 20th century had more enlightenment going on than recorded history reveals to us. Funny story, though, is that many of these things we're just now accepting were accepted before and led to the downfall of entire nations. The fall of Rome was a prime example. Orgies were common, not just between men and women, but also homosexually as well. They also experimented with various drugs, one of the more common known as shrooms in modern society. They stopped worshiping any kind of deity, as well as working, leaving the labor for slaves and local hired help, typically what they're referred to as barbarians, as they're mostly nomadic and, quote, uncivilized, unquote. Needless to say, they collapsed. Later societies rose and fell, adding their own good and bad into the mix. More drugs were discovered, sexuality went outside the bounds of humanity, and cloning animals started to get looked at. The most famous enlightenment, though, goes way back. The beginning of the biblical world, in fact, with Adam and Eve. God creates the world, and then shortly after, these two decide to seek knowledge from the infamous forbidden tree and become enlightened. They realize their mistake, but you can't unknow things. It's stuck there forever. Kind of makes you wonder if maybe there was a reason it was smack dab in front of the Bible, huh? As I said before, some of these enlightenments weren't terrible. Learning disease came from dirtiness and not punishment for your sins. Non-whites are still human. And women were capable of more than housework were some pretty good things. If it had stopped there, things wouldn't have been so bad. But once you get something going, it's pretty hard to stop it, especially when you think it's a good thing. Since it wasn't God punishing you, maybe he didn't actually exist. Myths were invented to explain the unexplained, and he may just be another story. Because we treated non-whites so badly, we need to make it up to them by giving them choice items, just to be fair, even if they weren't suited to the job. Women could do anything men could do, and really should, for the same reasons as non-whites. Now, we could get into each subject, and we will, but they would take quite some time, so we'll leave each for its own time. Okay, so enlightenment leads us down a dark hole. So what? Who says what's good and what's bad? Well, in my opinion... But that right there is the problem. It's opinion, not fact. In a purely non-religious way, facts are what help determine right and wrong. Sleeping with someone of the same sex does not benefit society in any way, gives short-term gratification, and has been known to create and spread STDs. Sleeping with animals has similar effects, but the creation of STDs has been more potent, one of the most famous being HIV, which commonly leads to AIDS. Having multiple sexual partners, whether of the same or different sexes, further spreads STDs, and has shown that the gratification becomes shorter-termed and needed more often. Stopping procreation, whether through preventative measures, like condoms or contraceptives, or just straight abortion, often leads to unstable mental attitudes, possible complications when trying to conceive later in life, and obviously a shrinking replacement rate as people get older and finally die. Narcotics lead to addictions, unstable mental states, and physical issues ranging from heightened appetite to hallucinations from lack of oxygen to the brain. These are all facts, yet they are ignored for the sake of happiness and fairness. Who determines what's happy or fair? Psychopaths are happy whenever they kill, but they are thrown in prison for it. Working hard brings some people happiness, but this is shunned for a life of ease. Where is it written that it's fair to be given a man a job because he belongs to some minority and not because he's good at it? Some believe it's fair to give mass murderers the death sentence with the eye for an eye mentality, while others stop it because it's, cruel and unusual, somehow unlike what the convict has done to his own victims. Sometimes happy and fair are determined by the individual, while other times it's decided by society, and it gets decided on a case-by-case basis, relying solely on emotions. Can a society really rely on emotions and not hard and fast rules? God gave both, and both must be used at the same time, in balance. Stealing a candy bar is not the same as stealing a car, so emotion must kick in to apply the appropriate punishment. Giving someone preference because of race, gender, or religion is why rules must apply to stop things from following the other direction. Enlightenment only reveals new information, not what to do with it. With no rules, it often leads to self-destruction, whether personal or societal.